Hey, I'm Isaac Haynes, and today I wanted to share with you my coming out video. I didn't always know that I was gay. Whenever I was growing up in my conservative religious environment, sexuality and gender weren't really things that we talked about very much, so it really wasn't on my radar. And sometimes I hear people say, I just always knew I was different, and I can relate to that a little bit, but most of the time I was really good at blending in with groups. I would just read the room and then adjust my behavior accordingly. So whenever I was 8 or 9, it was really alarming to start realizing that there was something different about me. I noticed that I felt towards other guys in ways that I didn't hear other people talking about. I just decided I must have admired their physique, or I admired their style, or I admired who they were as a person. And I thought, well, I just want to be like them, and I want to dress like them and look like them. I had different ways of trying to deal with this reality that I was grappling with. One way was that I just tried to think that it was a phase, because I had read that somewhere, and I was like, well, maybe I'm just going through puberty, so it's just like a phase that I'm experiencing because of all this testosterone and stuff. I thought maybe it was just a curiosity with my own body, and that's why. And I figured maybe everyone just experiences this kind of, and I'm just blowing it out of proportion in my head, and I just need to calm down. Going through puberty was really devastating for me. I felt like I lost my sense of joy and happiness the more that I was learning. I felt like I was just starting to become whatever I thought I was supposed to be in the eyes of other people, but I didn't really know who I was anymore. And I didn't want to tell anybody because nobody else was saying that this is how they felt or talking about what they were experiencing. Really, nobody my age was even talking about sex or sexuality at all. So I just kept it boxed up and kept not dealing with it. 2014, 2015 was a really interesting time to be a young gay teenager in the United States because the Marriage Equality Act was getting so much attention in national media coverage. And unfortunately, because I grew up in an evangelical conservative environment, instead of that being a time to affirm who I was and affirm other LGBTQ people, their conservatives found a way to make it about condemning gay people and condemning gay marriage. And so that meant for me that I was self-indoctrinating myself in rhetoric that taught me how to kind of roll my eyes at gay people, and that taught me to condemn part of myself and despise part of myself and to repress part of myself even more, which just made life that much harder. My parents subscribed to a magazine called World News magazine, and it's a conservative Christian publication, and at the time, probably every month they were putting out an article about why gay marriage was wrong, why LGBTQ rights activists were wrong and confused, and I just self-indoctrinated myself in how to repress myself. And looking back, that was the time when my mental health was going. I felt like I was a ghost living in the world, but it was sort of not really me. It was just a representation of me, or like a half version of me. What kept me thinking I was straight for the longest time was that I had met this girl who I really cared about and really wanted to spend time with, and I enjoyed spending time with, and I decided in my mind, oh, I'm in love with her, because, guys fall in love with girls, and I care about this girl, therefore I'm in love with her, totally ignoring all the crushes I was having on guys that were intense and passionate, and I just wanted to rub off on them constantly. But no, that was not anything to pay attention to, because I was in love with this girl because I was a heterosexual. And then that all ended Christmas of 2018. Christmas of 2018, a family friend of ours was coming through, and they are a same-sex attracted Christian. They're in a more conservative Christian branch of the church and subscribe to that theology. And I ended up coming out to them in sort of a weird way at the time, because keep in mind, I thought I was straight and I thought I was in love with this girl. I said, oh yeah, I used to think I was gay. Oh child, you were close, but you were off. So anyway, that started a relationship with that person where we would communicate back and forth. They would give me resources to try to start thinking through this stuff. So I started listening to affirming theology, read some books, listened to non-affirming people and read their books. And so really the entire year of 2019 was us communicating back and forth and me trying to work through this, starting the process of what I know now is called deconstruction. So it started really earlier than 2019, where I was doing my own research. Then that bled into side A, side B, side affirming, side non-affirming theology. On this issue, that started to bleed into me listening to tons of different voices for really honestly the first time. I was listening to atheists, I was listening to progressive Christians, I was listening to conservative Christians, I was listening to lecture after lecture on YouTube, I was reading articles, I was reading books, and I was filling Word documents trying to parse everything out and figure out, wait, what do I believe? What is this? What are the arguments? What's the framework? And it was chaos. It was honestly, 2019 was one of the worst years of my life. It was the best of times and the worst of times. And the same way that people were like, 2020, worst year ever. For me, 2019 was my 2020. It was awful. So awful. I was also like applying for colleges and stuff and like stressing about that. So that made it that much more difficult. But the more perspectives I got, the more I found it hard to stay in a place of non-affirming theology. It was harder and harder for me to say, yeah, obviously being gay is wrong, here's why, and you need to be in a mixed orientation marriage, or you need to be celibate for life. That's what this friend was doing. It just got harder and harder for me to be on board with that. At first I was like, yeah, this makes sense. But it's almost like the more research you do, the harder it is to be a fundamentalist in anything. Christmas of 2019 was really the last time that I saw non-affirming theology as being the way forward for me. But that didn't mean that suddenly I knew what I was supposed to be doing. It was just, okay, now I have no idea what to believe or what to do with my life. And there came a point where I had just watched a video by some skeptic analyzing something about Christianity. I don't remember who it was or what they were saying, but I was like, I'm done. Like, I can't keep doing this. And not for a lack of trying. I've tried to make it work. I've tried to rationalize things. I've tried to understand it. I've been going to church. I've been asking questions. I've been doing research. I've been praying. I've been reading the Bible. But I can't make this work. And I'm ready to be done. I'm ready to take all of this baggage, put it in a car, and push it off the cliffs of Dover and let it smash into the rocks below, because I'm done. But I was like, well, I'm just gonna pray. That's what I'll do. So I put my head up against a wall and was just staring at the ground. I was like, I asked more with my soul than with any English language, and I was like, what am I supposed to do? And suddenly, looking at the dust on the ground, I saw God. I looked up, and in between two books, I saw God, and in the light coming from the ceiling, I saw God, and in between the webbing of my fingers, I saw God, and it was everywhere was just God, and everything was funny. It was something had just clicked, and I felt it was almost like it was floating a little off the ground, and I was like, oh my gosh, I figured it out. And there isn't a word you write down, here's the answer. It's just perfect clarity. And then in that kind of clarity, I was kind of gay stuff, and basically got it back, was you think I care? You think I care about that? That is so small, I don't even see it, and you've been making this huge deal about it this whole time, and I really don't care. I felt like I finally reached a point of resolve. Looking at how that experience is described now, I think it would be called satori. And that was my experience. And I think I would have figured things out eventually on my own anyway, so I don't credit that experience as being some ultimate delivery of truth or something. But for me, that's just what pushed me forward faster, because I experienced this peace of mind. And from there, really from that point forward, I felt at peace, and I started to experience joy again, and I started to feel free for really the first time since maybe puberty, maybe ever. A lot of this experience has been about me and like what I was experiencing throughout my teenage years. But let me touch really quickly on coming out stories specifically. So the first person I really came out to was this friend who I said I thought I used to be gay to. And in that moment, I came out both to that person and to myself, and they were like, fine, and were just willing to listen to what my experience was. And I was going crazy inside. The next person I came out to, I did a summer internship, and because I was in a different place with people I had never met and probably never would meet again, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm gay, if it came up. And that was really freeing to be like, nobody cares here. It's just like, okay, whatever. And that was kind of my first experience of just being myself. And then I came out to my brother, and he sort of thinks along my lines just about how the world works. So he was just like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah. And he just like, oh, okay. And he didn't really care. And I'm gonna go hiking with him and my boyfriend in like a week. I came out to one of my other brothers who was friends with this same-sex attracted friend, and he's kind of like, okay, but probably not really comfortable, and probably really just wanted me to go along the lines of non-affirming theology like his friend had done, which I started to do. She's like, yes, keep doing this. And then I was like, no. And then he's like, And then I ended up the summer before I went to college. So this was the summer of 2020. I was pushing out coming out to my parents just because we were all quarantined and stuff because of COVID, and I just didn't want to deal with the drama and the fallout from that. So probably a couple of weeks before I went to college, I told them I needed to meet with them, or I wanted to meet with them if I could, and we sat down, and I was just like, I'm gay, and I've thought through things, and I'm not really gonna change, and this is it. And we talked for probably like 2 hours, and I had built up so much anxiety in my head about that experience because I was like, everything could go wrong and my life could be ruined. But thankfully, my parents have always been reasonable people, and they were just sort of listening and like, okay, we need to like time to process this. Religiously, we are inclined to believe that homosexuality is a sin and so forth, but we love you and we just need time to process things. And then I went to college, and it was great. I finally got to be myself all the time, and I met a guy who I started dating, and it's been amazing. It really has been, and it really did get better. And I just have to push that point that much harder, that it does get better and it is worth it. And it's like, sure, okay, easy to say for you, you get to live however you want. I have to be in the closet, and it sucks, and I know, and it does suck, but you're so much stronger than you think, and the light at the end of the tunnel is closer than you think, and when you finally are out, it was all worth the wait to get there, because it's amazing. I have to take this jacket off, it's so hot in here, and my face is so red. Okay, there are 3 things I would say to somebody if you're in the closet and you need advice. This isn't about coming out, this is about you taking care of you, because fuck coming out, nobody should have to come out, it sucks, let's get rid of it. But until then, here's what I would say to you. One is find positive role models who you can get inspired by. So if you've been around lots of negative thinking, find people online probably who are LGBTQ and who you can look up to as a positive role model to start expanding what your future could be. I would say find places, probably online again, where your mental health is taken care of. So for me, some of this stuff is kind of cringy, but like ASMR videos, right? Like Reiki videos on YouTube, REIKI. watching Aaron Abke, Alan Watts, listening to lo-fi, they helped. They helped me to get through some shitty times. So find something to help you to get through. The last thing I would say, this is the most important, but you are loved. Everybody loves you a lot more than you think. And the reason that you need to know that is because you're probably so full in your head of self-hatred that you've been taught from your culture that needs to go. There's no point for it. It's useless. Get rid of it. You need to know that you're loved. And the person who needs to love you more than anyone is yourself. Anyway, that's my video. That's my coming out story. That's my coming out advice. Take care, all you beautiful, wonderful people. And I'll see you next time. Blessings to win it all. Amen.